Have you ever been judged by your financial status? Imagine being rejected by the person you love just because you're not rich enough. Now, what if that same person got a life lesson? They'd never forget a lesson that shocked the world. In today's video, we'll uncover the incredible story of a young man who went from broke and heartbroken to becoming a millionaire. But that's not all. He bought the very hotel where his ex-lover worked, the same woman who once turned him down. And what happened next will leave you speechless. Meet this young man full of dreams, but without a penny to his name. He had nothing but ambition and a heart full of love for the woman he believed was his soulmate. She, however, was a hotel manager, living a life of luxury. To her, wealth mattered more than love. She was everything he ever wanted. But when he couldn't match her financial expectations, she chose a different path, rejecting him without a second thought. Her decision wasn't just painful, it set the stage for a transformation that would change both their lives forever. What happens next isn't just about revenge, it's about growth, resilience, and proving that true success isn't measured by money alone. Stay with us as we dive into this dramatic journey filled with powerful twists, incredible determination, and a life lesson that will leave you thinking long after the video ends. By the end of this video, you'll understand why rejection can be the spark for greatness and how a man's hard work and dedication can turn the tables in ways no one expects. If you've ever felt underestimated or thought you didn't have what it takes, this story will show you the power of perseverance and the real meaning of success. So stick around until the end. You don't want to miss how this story unfolds. Welcome to Craze TV, where we bring you powerful stories, life lessons, and inspiring journeys. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us on this incredible ride. The boy and the hotel manager had what seemed like the perfect relationship. They spent countless hours together, sharing dreams, making plans for the future. He admired her confidence, her elegance, the way she carried herself in the high-class world she lived in. To him, she was everything he had ever hoped for, a person who made him feel seen, loved, and accepted, despite the fact that he had little in terms of money. But for him, the dream was always a little out of reach. He had big ambitions, but his bank account was empty. He worked long hours at a small job trying to make ends meet, always believing that someday he'd be able to give her the life she deserved. The manager, on the other hand, came from a family of wealth. She lived in a world where appearances mattered and financial status determined your place in society. She was used to the finer things, the luxury that came with her position. But as the months passed, she began to feel the pressure of being with someone who wasn't able to offer her that same lifestyle. One evening, after weeks of subtle distance, the inevitable conversation happened. It was a quiet, somber moment. The boy, unsure of what was coming, felt a knot tighten in his stomach. She looked at him, her eyes avoiding his, almost apologetic. "I think it's time we end this," she said, her voice steady but cold. "You're a great guy, but I can't keep living like this. I need someone who can offer me the life. I want someone who's wealthy." Her words cut deeper than anything he had ever expected. The boy stared at her, unable to comprehend what was happening. All the love they had shared, all the dreams they had built together, now seemed so fragile, so insignificant. In one moment, the woman he loved was choosing money over him. He left the conversation numb. He didn't cry. He didn't shout. He simply walked away, but inside his heart shattered. The pain of rejection was overwhelming, yet something stirred deep within him, anger, frustration, but also an unshakable determination. He wasn't going to let her define his worth. He wasn't going to let money be the reason he was cast aside. The boy knew that his love for her wasn't enough, not for her, and that realization was the spark he needed to change his life. That night, as he lay in bed, the boy's mind raced. He could feel the weight of her words pressing down on him. "I need someone wealthy." Those words echoed in his ears, but instead of sinking into despair, something shifted inside him. He realized that if he was ever going to prove his worth, he had to take control of his own future. He made a promise to himself he would no longer allow his lack of money to define who he was. He would work harder than anyone else, learn skills he never thought he would, and one day he would be successful. But he knew the road wouldn't be easy. The first step was learning about business, about making money, about what it took to build something from nothing. He spent hours reading books, listening to podcasts, and watching videos. The nights became longer. He would stay up late, poring over information, his eyes tired and bloodshot, but his mind driven by an unstoppable force. It wasn't just the learning. He had to take action. He started small, taking on side jobs, building connections, and constantly looking for ways to improve his skills. But the reality of his situation hit him hard. There were moments when it felt like nothing was working, when it seemed like he was getting nowhere. The money wasn't flowing in, and the constant effort felt like an uphill battle. There were sleepless nights when he doubted himself, when the weight of the world felt too heavy to carry. Maybe I'm not cut out for this, he would think. The fear of failure loomed over him, and for a moment it almost felt like giving up would be easier than continuing to fight. But with every setback, something inside him refused to quit. The boy dug deeper. He sacrificed nights out with friends, turned down opportunities to relax, and put everything into his dreams. Slowly, very slowly, things began to change. His hard work was starting to pay off. He found small victories like a successful project, a new connection, and a client willing to pay for his services. As the months went by, those small wins added up. He started to see a bigger picture, a future where he was no longer the boy who was rejected. He was becoming someone powerful, someone who had control over his destiny. The boy once hopeless was now becoming a man who could make things happen. As time passed, the boy's life began to change in ways he had once only dreamed of. What had started as a spark of determination now burned fiercely inside him, driving him forward every single day. The more he worked, the more he saw opportunities open up. He learned to think differently, to see problems as challenges to be solved, and every failure became a lesson. He started his own small business, putting all the knowledge he had gained into practice. At first it was tough. He faced setbacks and challenges that made him question his path. But he kept pushing forward. There were days when the business seemed like it might fail, when he couldn't make enough money to cover the bills. But he refused to let those moments define him. Gradually things began to fall into place. His business started to grow. He built a team, and the work began to pay off. Clients were impressed, and soon he had a steady stream of contracts. His success didn't come overnight, but with each passing month, he saw his wealth grow. The man who once couldn't afford dinner was now making deals that brought in more money than he had ever imagined. As his business expanded, so did his wealth. He was no longer struggling to make ends meet. He had become a millionaire. But what made his success truly meaningful was not the money itself. It was the realization that he had proven to himself and to everyone else that he was capable of more than just being poor. The boy's motivation had never been about revenge. It wasn't about getting back at the woman who had rejected him or showing her how wrong she was. No, it was something deeper. His journey wasn't about proving anything to anyone except himself. It was about showing that he had the strength, the intelligence, and the drive to change his life, no matter how hard it had been. Money, success, and wealth were just the results of his dedication. What truly mattered was that he had grown both as a person and as a businessman. Every step he took, every challenge he overcame, was a reflection of his commitment to himself and his future. One day, while checking the news, the boy stumbled upon an article that caught his eye. It was about the hotel where his ex-girlfriend had worked, the place where their story had ended. The article mentioned that the hotel was up for sale. The moment he read those words, a wave of memories rushed back. He remembered the moments they spent there, the dreams they shared, and the painful rejection that had set him on his path. But now things were different. He wasn't the same boy anymore. He had grown, achieved success, and built a life he was proud of. At first, he simply brushed it off. It's just a hotel, nothing more. But as the days went by, the idea kept nagging at him. What if buying the hotel wasn't just a chance to own something grand, but a way to close a chapter of his life in the most powerful way possible? What if it was a symbol of everything he had worked for, a testament to his journey? He didn't rush into the decision. The boy thought long and hard about it. Buying a hotel was no small feat. It required careful planning, a lot of resources, and a clear vision of what he wanted to achieve. But the more he considered it, the more it made sense. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving something to her. It was about owning his success and showing the world that he had come a long way from the boy who had nothing. With careful strategy and effort, he managed to secure the deal. The hotel was now his. But his reasons weren't tied to bitterness or resentment. It wasn't about getting back at the woman who had once turned him away. Instead, it was a celebration of everything he had built, a place that would mark the culmination of his hard work and perseverance. He now stood in a position that he had once never thought possible, the owner of the very hotel where his love story had ended. But this time, it wasn't a story of rejection. It was a story of triumph. It wasn't long before the boy's path crossed with his ex again. He walked into the hotel, now fully under his ownership, and there she was standing behind the reception desk, just as she had been before. Her eyes widened when she saw him. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The woman who had once rejected him was now face to face with the man she had cast aside. But this time the tables had turned. He wasn't the struggling boy anymore. He was the owner of the hotel, the man who had built his empire from nothing. She looked at him, confusion in her eyes. "I didn't know you were the one who bought the hotel," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He smiled, but there was no bitterness in his gaze. "I guess it's a small world," he replied. As they stood there, the boy felt a rush of emotions. He wasn't angry with her. He wasn't seeking revenge. Instead, he felt a deep sense of clarity. The lessons he had learned over the years, the hardships, the sacrifices, the growth, had led him to this moment. He looked at her, his voice steady and calm. "You were right about one thing," he said. "Money does matter, but it's not everything. What really matters is who you are, how you treat others, and the love and respect you give to those around you." The manager's face shifted, a mix of surprise and regret crossing her features. She didn't know what to say. She had lived in a world where wealth determined value, where appearances shaped decisions. But now, seeing the boy, know the man he had become, she realized how wrong she had been. He continued, his voice firm but kind. "I worked hard to get where I am today, but I've learned that true success doesn't come from money. Wealth can be earned, but respect and love are earned through character. I hope one day you understand that." Her eyes filled with emotion as she listened. She had spent so much time focusing on external things, the money, the status, the material. But standing before him now, she saw what she had overlooked all along. It wasn't about the paycheck. It was about the person. It was about values, about kindness, and about the heart. She stood there speechless as the boy turned to leave. But before he did, he gave her one last look, a look that wasn't filled with anger, but with understanding. He had let go of the past. Now all that remained was the lesson, a lesson she would never forget. This story teaches us a powerful lesson. Success isn't about getting back at someone. It's not about proving others wrong or showing off. True success is about growing, improving, and discovering your own worth. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, no matter the obstacles or rejections you face along the way. Sometimes rejection can be the greatest motivator. It can push you to achieve more, to work harder, and to believe in yourself when no one else does. So remember, every setback is a setup for something greater. Don't let anything stop you from chasing your dreams. If you found this story inspiring, please give this video a like and don't forget to subscribe to Craze TV for more powerful stories and life lessons. Note this story is a work of fiction and is not based on real events.